Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. Our lead story for today. Tension in South Africa and United States relations as Trump ambushes Ramaphosa, plays Malema's videos at Oval Office meeting. The relationship between South Africa and the United States is facing a period of unprecedented tension. What was expected to be a routine diplomatic visit by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to the White House took a dramatic and unsettling turn, leaving observers questioning the future of relations between the two nations. On what was described as a cold day in Washington, President Ramaphosa arrived at the White House on the 21st of May 2025, anticipating a challenging meeting, particularly given the US president's prior accusations of a white genocide in South Africa. However, the reality of what unfolded in the Oval Office far exceeded expectations. The meeting began with a semblance of cordiality, with both leaders exchanging pleasantries. However, the atmosphere shifted abruptly when the lights in the Oval Office dimmed. A large television monitor, seemingly prepared in advance, was wheeled into the room. The screen flickered to life, displaying a 4-minute video that depicted grainy protest footage, chants, and white crosses that were intended to symbolize slain white farmers in South Africa. The message conveyed was stark. The US president appeared to be accusing South Africa of persecuting its white minority. The US president stated that South Africa allows people to take land, and when they take the land, they kill the white farmer, and nothing happens to them. The event was not characterized as a conversation, but rather as a spectacle.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down. Turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do.
But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. Shoot to kill. Gamanza. Kill the brewer. The farmer. Kill the brewer. The farmer. Pa. 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 Shoot to kill. Gamanza.
Land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yeah. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. So whatever you want to do, we can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road you have crosses. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. Okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa, that's where.
We need to find out.
The US president's actions transformed the Oval Office from a space for diplomacy into what some described as a reality TV set. This incident followed a similar event earlier in the year, where the Ukrainian president was subjected to a shouting match.
Everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this.
I'm not
you're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and very
telling you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III.
The US President's advisor posted on social media, complete with a screenshot of the encounter, that this event was being watched globally and that it was a ratings gold. This approach to diplomacy is causing concern among global leaders. Some suggest that the message being sent to the world's democracies is to play ball or face the glare. The Ramaphosa meeting was described as a circus by some, while others were less diplomatic, calling it a shameful spectacle. These tactics are redefining the nature of presidential meetings, turning them into political theater with potentially significant global consequences. Firstly, diplomacy is becoming a deterrent. The Oval Office, once a coveted invitation for world leaders, now resembles a stage-managed gauntlet. The US president's aggressive posture, public confrontations, and nationalist messaging may make foreign leaders wary of future visits, especially those from smaller or non-aligned countries. Secondly, it undermines alliances. The US president's treatment of allies like Ramaphosa undermines US credibility at a time when competition from China and Russia for global influence is intensifying. This kind of public ambush is something one might expect from a talk show host, not a US president. Thirdly, it is seen as weaponizing the presidency. The US president has effectively turned the Oval Office into a live set for reinforcing narratives that energize his political base. The display was not about South Africa's actual crime data or trade, but about reaffirming the US president's alignment with certain talking points that resonate with key segments of his support. Fourthly, it risks isolating the US. The US president's readiness to embarrass foreign leaders on live television, especially those from nations the US has strategic interests in, could backfire diplomatically. South Africa, China's top trading partner on the continent, is being courted by both global powers, and the US president's behavior risks pushing Pretoria further into Beijing's sphere. The centerpiece of the US president's presentation was an old, debunked conspiracy theory that white South African farmers are being targeted. This narrative, popular in certain internet circles, has long been dismissed by experts. Despite this, the US president doubled down, stating that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety, their land is being confiscated, and in many cases, they are being targeted. Despite the situation, President Ramaphosa remained composed, stating that if there was Afrikaner farmer persecution, certain individuals would not be present. Observers described the South African president's performance as tactful, even statesmanlike. Following the meeting, President Ramaphosa tried to reframe the visit, stating that discussions on liquefied natural gas and critical minerals were very encouraging. However, for many South Africans, the damage was done, with some questioning why President Ramaphosa was even in the US. This was not a diplomatic misstep, but a deliberate performance. Some analysts suggest that this was completely stage-managed by the White House. The US president's approach appears to be to humiliate in order to dominate, applying the same strategy to allies and rivals alike. President Ramaphosa had come to Washington with pragmatic goals, hoping to lower the temperature on bilateral tensions, reboot stalled trade talks, and repair damage caused by earlier decisions. However, the images of the meeting are likely to overshadow any diplomatic gains. The Oval Office was once a place where history was shaped, but now it feels more like a game show set, with foreign leaders put on the defensive. During the meeting, President Ramaphosa stated that they were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around the table and talk about them. However, in today's White House, the table has become a stage. The meeting has been described as a damaging outcome for the South African brand. The US president played long clips of a singing individual in front of large crowds and a mass funeral. What followed was a litany of crime and racial issues in South Africa, with the US president continuing with untruths. Opportunities were missed to turn the narrative around, with some adding fuel to the US president's fire. Some referenced a memorial, and alarmist language about certain groups added to the impression of a country in crisis. While some spoke of trade, the US president was defiant and irritated with US journalists, repeatedly turning attention back to the situation in South Africa. While some suggest there were a few saving graces, for the casual viewer, it was difficult not to deduct that South Africa is a country at war with itself. It has been suggested that the US president is rooting for certain groups, and that he had laid a trap for President Ramaphosa. President Ramaphosa had to sit and take it as the terrible truth dawned: he had been ambushed. While President Ramaphosa had prepared a soft approach of his own, the US president failed to be forced into submission and, like some, took out his frustration on certain reporters. Like others before him, President Ramaphosa had survived Washington's trial by television. Thank you for watching this news video. We'd love to hear what you think about this story, so please leave your comments below. We read them all and appreciate your insights. Join us again in our next strange story. Until then, goodbye.